Hey everyone! Welcome to Be the Change. My name is Lily Mott, and today I'm going to be talking about how change comes when you work on solving a problem your younger self faced. I'm excited to share this guest with you at this time in late November. Regardless of your political opinions and affiliation, this past month has been a very political time for the United States of America. From midterm elections and all of those results to Donald Trump announcing his candidacy for the 2024 presidential race, it's been an interesting time to follow politics in America. So, for anyone who feels like they want to get more involved in politics, law, or public service, my guest is here to tell you about an organization to check out. Gabriela Daza is the Director of Partnerships at Polycorner, which is a platform dedicated to making internships and jobs in politics, law, and public service more accessible. So, with that little introduction, let's get started with this episode featuring Gabriela Daza.
So my name's Gabriela. I study at the University of Pennsylvania, and I'm studying anthropology and political science. My work in the past has mostly had to do with environmental research, research in environmental toxicology and advocacy that goes along with that. But right now I am working as the Director of Partnerships at a startup called Polycorner. And Polycorner launched at the end of May. Its overarching mission is to make politics more accessible by connecting students with opportunities in what was first just the political sector, but has now expanded into the public sector. So that's a little bit about me and what I've done and what I do now.
Thank you for sharing that little introduction, and I would love to go deeper and just have you tell me some about your own background. What was your experience like finding internships in public service?
Right. So I study anthropology and political science, and I have been I've found that opportunities in anthropology have been a lot more accessible and easy to find because there are clear entry points, and you don't necessarily have to know anybody or be connected in any sort of way or have any sort of prior experience to be a researcher or to be an ethnographer or a journalist or any of those things. But the political space becomes a bit difficult to navigate because you're competing with people who are politically connected through family or other ways. And also, in my personal experience, when I've gone to career services offices, I will say I'm a political science major and I put down the sort of econ major rabbit hole where they will advise me to go into a job in consulting or banking and those fields that I'm not particularly interested in as a political science major. So that's been super challenging for me. And what makes Polycorner really special and something that I believe in, and something that I choose to work at, is that it helps students like myself, sort of avoid those problems. It solves a solution to the career service advisor telling you to go into consulting because it allows you to connect yourself with different opportunities that are more up your alley. And it also it creates opportunity. So what's been really fun about my job now is that I'm able to connect with different campaigns who don't otherwise post their internship listings on any job board and don't really make their volunteer or internship listings public. So I've been able to do outreach with them and have them post their listings on our site so that any normal person, as long as you have an email and can create a password, can see that job availability, which has been really fun. I feel like I'm totally solving a problem that I myself have faced.
That's so interesting. So, I would also love to know, you touched on these a little bit, but can you share with me more about the process to round up all of these jobs and internships and share them on the site? What does that day to day work look like for people at Polycorner? Can you give me the overall scoop about how this work gets done?
Yeah, totally. So we're super new and we're also quite small. So my day to day looks pretty different because I feel like I do a lot of different tasks. And so I guess the easiest way to put it is that I spend a lot of my time reaching out to campaigns that I know are understaffed and underfunded, and also nonprofits that are understaffed and underfunded, and government offices that are understaffed and underfunded, all of those types of things. I spend time reaching out to them, seeing if they're interested in posting internship or volunteer opportunities onto our site. And I also do outreach with universities and high schools and different after school tutoring programs and youth groups so that we can get we can grow our applicant pool. And yeah, that's the broader view. But what this really looks like is sending a lot of emails, compiling a lot of email lists, and hoping to get a response. And actually, we have been getting pretty lucky with our responses. A lot of people have been responding positively and are interested in what we do. We've had over 1,200 users join our site since our launch date. That was just over a month ago. So that's been encouraging and exciting, and it makes all of these, little tasks like emailing seem like they're very worth it, which has been super, super rewarding and fun. And what's been interesting, I guess, like as a learning experience, is understanding how other offices operate. And so understanding that like a nonprofit doesn't necessarily have the resources or time to build out their internship or volunteering program. So it feels really gratifying to be able to help them out, in that way. And the same with like political campaigns, and also like speaking with students who work at political campaigns and helping them navigate their own futures after they're done working at a specific campaign for a given time. So it's been interesting and fun, and like it's been super cool actually seeing the student side as well, like speaking with other students about what we do and helping get them on board. And a lot of students get excited that it's free. So that's been also really fun.
Yeah, definitely. So I would also love to talk with you about kind of the internship system in general and the culture around internship searches. So I think it's a little bit difficult to conceptualize how difficult it can be to find an internship, apply, interview, get it, and then maybe work with this while you're doing college courses, for example, if you're a fall or spring intern. So can you tell me some about the problems with the internship and the job search process that inspired you to get involved in this work with Polycorner?
Yeah, I would love to explain that more. So what I've found, and I guess I'll extend this beyond my personal experience, but not so far that it's like a universalized thing. But what I found is the case for like myself or a lot of my friends or just like other college students that I've spoken to, there is this pressure to get an internship, as soon as your freshman summer, the summer going into your sophomore year. And if you don't get an internship, like there is a sense of like self-doubt, maybe you didn't try hard enough, or people judge you for not getting an internship, or your career advisor will start to worry that you're not keeping up. And this was something I myself, like I was only made aware of this when I went to college. When I was in high school, I didn't have any internships. There was no, like my family's not pre-professional like that. So I wasn't really prepared for that sort of environment. But some people are. So some people enter college with a total understanding of pre-professionalism and what it means to navigate the world as someone who is soon to be entering the workforce. And so that sort of disparity in knowledge from the onset of your freshman year sort of can be perpetuated by how one is able to navigate the internship finding process. And so if you go into college and you already understand that like you have a specific trajectory to go down, and that means I'm getting this internship right after my freshman year and I know how to get that, then you're at an advantage in comparison to the other person who didn't necessarily know that internships were even a thing. So I guess that's like a larger problem within the process that you asked about. But what Polycorner aims to do is like create a streamlined, easy, accessible platform where even people who had no idea that internships were an expectation are able to just navigate through this super user-friendly platform and find themselves opportunities that are interesting to them and be able to work at a campaign that they care about and work in a field that is of actual interest to them instead of going through a larger job board or larger site and just applying for any job hoping that they'll get one. Polycorner is tailored towards students like individual academic interests and helps them fill what they think is their niche.
I think randomly applying and scrolling through LinkedIn to try to find jobs and then just clicking submit on any random one is something that too many people can relate to. So I really appreciate you explaining that. I have one last question for you. Lots of young people, particularly high school students and college students, want to create change and they want to make a difference, but they may not know how to get started with that. Do you have any advice for those people who may be listening?
Oh, that's a good question. I guess that is something that I myself am still navigating and trying to figure out. So I'm not quite sure if I'm able to advise in that area, but I can like share, I guess, how I feel or how I felt and how my feelings have changed with with respect to making a change or change making and all of those things. I think that sort of abolishing the idea that there is a set way of doing things and that there is like this big arbiter of truth who judges and evaluates, your actions. Stepping away from that like mental framework has really helped me feel like I can be impactful in doing things up to my ability. Because when I was, I don't know, maybe a freshman in college, I aspired towards something in particular, but that thing was quite vague and I didn't quite know what I was aspiring towards. But I sort of had this idea that there was a way to do things and I was paving my way to figuring that out. But unlocking that and that thing, which never actually existed, felt like an impossible task. But I didn't trust myself enough to just understand that the process was actually the thing itself. I wasn't like approaching anything, but rather I was like participating in something already. I feel more like that now. Like I don't feel like I am approaching or unlocking some like big change making truth where like now I am a change maker, but instead I'm like trusting that small individual actions are enough to create change in whatever way that they do. And also like I feel more comfortable in being able to like reevaluate the impact of my actions and take a step back and change how I understand change making and all of those things. But I guess stepping away from like a very rigid framework of what change making looks like allowed me to feel more comfortable in approaching making an impact, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's the only advice that I can give. It might be a bit abstract, but I think that's the way I feel most comfortable answering that question.
I think this was a really interesting conversation with Gabriela because I think Polycorner is doing important work that I was excited to learn more about. This whole concept of internships and jobs throughout high school and college is just such an important one to think about. There's so much stress that comes with constantly searching for new opportunities and feeling like you aren't doing enough and you should be doing more. I enjoyed listening to Gabriela's thoughts on the topic, but also to her story to get involved with Polycorner. She struggled with the process to find internships and opportunities in politics and started working with this organization that is helping others to avoid those same struggles. Gabriela recognized a problem and joined Polycorner to help address it for others, which is a great example of how change comes when you work on solving a problem your younger self faced. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and you can find Polycorner on Instagram at polycorner.org to learn more about the organization. I also included the link to the Polycorner website in the episode description if you're interested in checking out the full site. If you want to talk about anything I mentioned, please reach out to me by email at lily@bethechangepodcast.org or on Instagram at bethechangepodcast. Tune in for my next episode, but until then, be the change you wish to see in the world. Bye, guys.